And Brad, take it away. Thank you, Brad.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. How many here believe that you can change your personality, your nature, your environment, your beliefs, and of course, your mindset? Now, I only saw one. I can't see everybody, but Alan was holding up his hands on all of those and everything. The changing your personality is something that's quite difficult, actually. Uh, you see 50 to 70% of your personality today was your personality when before your age 8. So you've had it a long time. Some of us a little longer than others, sort of thing. So it's like uh, I came from the farm and our lane was fairly narrow to get to our farm. But the highway out in front of the farm was much wider. And then we've all seen super highways and the disasters that they're doing to 494 and things like that, where they're building on it on a regular basis. But the concept of mindset was made popular really by Carol Dweck. And she's a psychologist, and it's really about your fundamental beliefs, about your abilities, your intelligence, and your talents. And if you think about it, that pretty much makes up who you're presenting on a regular basis, whether it's in this meeting, whether it's out there to interview or anything else. You're presenting your abilities, your intelligence, and your talents. And you're doing it in various ways. And it's really includes everything that we think and believe that comes forth in this. And what I'm asking you to do today is to consider some of this that I'm going to be talking about. And I would like you to break the barrier of being yourself, because very few of us act out the true self that we were made to be, because we're trying to change that self from quite some time ago. So there's a lot of issues that come. By the way, this is one of my favorite sayings by a very famous person called Anonymous. I see a lot of those out there, and but it's very true. Has anybody here felt that your thoughts are kind of all over the place, especially when you're really trying to focus, that your mind wanders? You might even space out or nod off during this time. Most of us find it very difficult to visualize, and yet there's a lot of research that is saying that visualization of what you're actually wanting to do, your mind, when they put the electrodes on it, or is basically, when you visualize something, is experiencing the same thing as if you're acting it out. So practicing visualization, and then some other time I'll go over quickly a lemon exercise where you can basically just visualize limits, and most of us can close our eyes and visualize a limit. That's a good place to start, and then you go from there. Uncomfortable sensations. It's amazing how many I talk with and work with on a coaching basis where they're saying that they are feeling a lot of these sensations in their body that is happening in the moment when they are having to be in front of somebody and trying to really make an impression on that person, and yet they walk into it feeling uncomfortable in a lot of situations. You can't relax. That's another situation that pretty much everybody goes through. Worrying. They say 80% of what you worry about, and this kind of carries over to the anonymous saying here, 80% of what you worry about will never happen. So just to start keeping score today on those things that you're worried about. The fixed beliefs that we carry into a situation is a huge part of what they're hearing, rather than who we really are and what we're trying to portray. Anybody here get cravings and walk to the refrigerator 4 or 5 times a day, and the same stuff's in that refrigerator, but we open it up and look inside and nothing changes? Just the fact that going through the stress that you're going through right now, which is one of the top 4 stressful categories that anybody goes through. Moving is another one. And a lot of people that we hear online and everything are moving from some other place, and then they're going to try to find a job. So they're experiencing 2 of the top 4. And just the fact that things become more negative when we're in this situation. In fact, what research shows is about 80% of our thoughts are negative. Identifying what your mindset is the first step to doing something about it. It's your reaction versus your response to challenges or setbacks. I remember, and I think I might have even told the story, I was driving down the road, it's pouring down rain, and everybody was going slow. And I'm over in the left-hand lane because of the highway, because I could see the stripe on the road and be able to know where I was and everything. This lady to my right pulls over in front of me, and I slam on the brakes and missed her. I don't know how I missed her. I really don't. My reaction to it is what all of you have the excuse for the first 8 seconds. Your reaction to something is your amygdala. It's reacting to whatever your situation is. After 8 seconds, you're responsible for your response. So as I was driving down the road, my first reaction was to comment on her lack of driving abilities. It was a little stronger than that, but she, of course, couldn't hear me, but I was quite vocal about it. I drove a little further, and then I said, oh, with this condition, she's just scared. She's trying to get off the road and everything. I drove a little further and said a prayer for her. That's what I mean by the response. We all have a choice to react and then to respond. Your view of effort versus the outcomes. So many of us judge ourselves by the outcomes of what we did in the day. And if we didn't get X number of interviews, or we didn't have a successful interview or something like that, we're focusing on the outcomes. They're focusing on the effort that you spent during the day. And what I recommend is that everybody determine their 3 to 5 values and look at their values today, each day at the end of the day, and say, did I keep my values? Your values is where you get your motivation. So remember that. Your attitude on everything, but especially on criticism. And criticism of yourself is a huge part of it. Even your feelings towards others' success. We hear somebody doing it, having a landing, and in the moment we're happy for them, but we're wondering why it didn't happen for us. Your self-talk goes back to that attitude and criticism. And your beliefs about your own intelligence, talents, and self-worth is what mindset is all about. The problem is, in this situation, we are stressed. Remember, your stress is your expectations of your demands. So whatever your demands are in the moment, if you're feeling stress, go back to those demands and say, am I able to control it or not? If you can't, you got to be able to let it go. It can include money, work, health, and relationships. But control is one of the biggest reasons that people are having stress. And it's because they are worrying about things they cannot control. Remember what I said, 80% of the things you worry about will never happen. Certainty. If you haven't got certainty in a job, you are going to struggle with that. But realize your expectations. If there's a 10% chance of you getting this job and you're worrying about it, again, what are your expectations? Connectedness. This group, Eagle Group in general, and being connected to a few good people to support you is one of the most important things that you can do during this time. And being vulnerable and open with them and having a good, close relationship. Safety is, of course, financial safety. There's a number of different safety elements. And then a lack of progress. Again, your expectations about how quickly you should progress through it. Think about it. Carol Dweck came up with the term fixed mindset and growth mindset. We all have triggers that set those off. We have setbacks. We have people critiquing us. Our environment, I always had a sloppy environment, but I could tell you exactly where every paper was. And then I read, actually I took a course on the environment, and it said, Brad, you're kidding yourself. Your mind is all over the place because of your environment. So authority figures from the past, or people that just make a comment that you feel they're in a place of authority, or your predisposition on things. Everybody needs a decision-making process. Mine is to recognize first that you're avoiding challenges, to reflect on that and say, why am I avoiding it? Then to reframe challenges into opportunities, and then to refocus on the opportunities that are in those challenges, and then to reference those things that you've done in the past where you've succeeded in accomplishing these things. How to change it? It starts with your identity. I wrote an article here on identity. We've all heard of Simon Sinek's why. Define that for yourself and look at your identity and see how that measures up to your why. One of the biggest issues in what we're all going through is a lack of energy. Energy comes, if you want to grow it fast, one of the first things is do it for gratefulness first thing in the morning. Your energy actually increases while you're doing that. Exercise is one of the fastest ways to increase energy, and it's strength exercises, not just cardio. You can be overweight and strong and healthier than somebody that is not strong and underweight. And exercise is now shown as the number one thing. Strength exercise is shown as the number one thing for longevity. And since I'm going to be living to 120, I need that. Nutrition, of course, is what it is. Most of us eat processed foods. Just try to cut back a little bit of it. Sleep is huge. If you're not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, discover the reason. I will meet with you in an hour, or I will have you sleeping like a baby. Meditation, look it up. There's 12 medically proven benefits of meditation. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes in on that too. I take cold showers every morning. Renee knows that and cringes every time, but there's a lot of health benefits on it. Start small. I did not start with the weights I use right off the bat. We've all heard of ZOF or flow or in the zone. ZOF is zone of function. Flow is just that time when it is the greatest productivity that we have, where we actually don't realize that time is flying like it is. It's a couple hours later and say, I can't believe I've accomplished this amount or something. Replicate it and then celebrate. We don't celebrate enough. Cultivate this embracing challenges and beliefs. The effort versus outcome. Reframe, celebrate, and practice mindfulness. Each of these, anger, reframe it to, I'm fighting against problems. I'm not fighting against others or people. It's that type of thing that you want to redo. Read this question. What hard lessons keeps repeating itself in your life because you refuse to learn from it? And then I'll work, I offer my services free to veterans to overcome whatever you're struggling with. This is one of exercises that I hope that everybody takes, and it's called GPS. Does anybody use GPS? This is your goal progression state. It's to identify your feelings, your focus, and your environment today. Write down those elements for each of those. And then say, and ask your spouse or a good friend about these, and then go to your future self and say, what is it that I want my feelings, my focus, and my environment to be? After that, you need to identify the triggers that set you off. If you say that you are exhausted, your mind's going to keep you there. If you say, why do I always do this? Your mind's going to keep you there. And then the three biggies that I find from coaching is people are saying, I am not enough or worthy. I'm defective or different, where I can never achieve or attain that. Use my decision-making process to change that. And then come for my free coaching. That's it. I went a little over, sorry.